Hey YouTube, Mike the Alpha Hoarder here. If you don't know me, I collect, aka hoard, alpha cards. And my friends and family think I'm nuts. They might be right. So I've decided to turn to the endless void of YouTube. I talk to myself and I document and share my collection. So today I've got a handful of things that I want to add to my hoard. And while I do, I'm going to gallivant about on the topic of raw versus graded cards. And I'd be interested to hear what you like more. Maybe you could tell me in the comments section. So, I first entered this hobby in 1995. 4th edition had just come out, and Ice Age was just landing in the shelves. And I left the hobby around 2002. I think Torment had just came out, either just before or just as I was leaving. And obviously grading wasn't a thing back then. Or if it was, I never heard about it. And I came back to the hobby very briefly in 2010. I actually drafted a Jace the Mind Sculptor. I think World Wake was out that year. So that was cool, but you know, the Planeswalker thing threw me off and there was no mana burn. I don't know. I didn't like not liking the rules, so I didn't stick around too long. And I came back in a big way in 2018, and that's when I really saw graded cards for the first time. And I got to admit, at first, it just seemed so cool, you know? To encase old cards permanently. The concept is very cool. It charmed my collector instinct, I'll put it that way. And I very quickly sent off a whole pile of stupid cards to get graded. Just because I liked the idea of it. Anything old. I had a couple of beta commons, some legends commons, the dark. I sent in chronicles. I sent in all kinds of junk. Let me take a look at this guy and then I'll show you a couple of silly ones. Always excited to get a nice fireball. Let's see. Oh yeah, that is nice. Clean surface. Good edges and corners. Yeah, very nice. So check out this guy I had graded. Hey, Chronicles Uncommon. This is a pop 6. No, this is a pop 3, I think. No, this is a pop 6, sorry. There's 3 graded at 9.5, and there's 2 graded at 9. The good news here, though, is that there's at least one idiot even dumber than me. Because somebody... There's a 3.5 in the registry. So somebody had a beat-up copy of Concordant Crossroads Chronicles and sent it to be graded, so at least that's something. Check this one out. This guy's a pop 2. Unglued Squirrel Token. Yeah, seriously, I paid to get that graded. Just because it's such a funny card. I always liked it. And again, at first this was so charming. I sent everything. Look at this guy, also a pop 2, they're both 8.5s. 4th edition Wrath of God. Who's grading 4th edition cards? But you know, it almost felt like I was preserving old memories. You know, like I had memories of these cards, you know, playing them, of laughing at it. And there was something about putting it in the plastic that just made it feel more real. And you know, I had to learn my way around the grading. I'm sure you know, but the basics. BGS divides your grades into 4 subgrades. Centering, edges, corners, and surface. Pretty self-explanatory. You get a grade that isn't strictly an average. I don't know the full algorithm. It might be an average rounded down. It's never rounded up. There are a few other rules they apply. For instance, for BGS, they won't give you anything more than one above your lowest grade. So for instance, check out this revised Badlands. Looks pretty nice. Got a 9 centering, 9 edges. I've got a 9.5 corners. But that 4 surface kills the card, and you can see it in the light. That's this corner right here. It was, I don't know if it got set on or what. But I think this would be a basic, a B+++. I think that's how that works. So a quad is if all of the numbers match the big grade. And then you add a plus for each one that's above the main grade. So let's see, do I actually have any, are any of these? No. Okay, so like this is a quad plus, right? One subgrade is higher, so the rest are at least as high as the main grade, so this would be a quad plus. This is a basic because one of the grades is lower than the main grade, but 3 of them are higher, so that's where I think the 3 pluses come from. Someone can probably clarify if I'm doing that right, but that seems to be what I've deduced from doing this for a couple of years now. I have moved away from graded, so I don't claim to be an expert on all that, but BGS, PSA, CGC, SGC, they all go up to 10. You get a grade between 1 and 10. And then if you're BGS, you can also get a 10 black label. And I spent a lot of time researching to figure out how to explain that. And this is the best explanation that I found.
This is a top to what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the
and then
amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's 1 louder, isn't it? What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly. 1 louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
So there you go. PSA doesn't do subs, and I've heard they don't factor in centering. I don't know if that's true, but I have definitely seen some high-graded PSA cards that look off-center, so I would definitely believe it. So anyway, I thought the grading thing was so cool for a little while, but I gotta be honest, the charm kind of wore off really fast. I still think it's great for single pieces, or sentimental pieces. This is one of my original dual lands, so I've got all 10 of those graded, and the grades aren't spectacular, but it's a nice little brick of sentimental pieces, and I can display them or whatever. I like grading for that. Certainly for some one-off pieces, I have my Alpha Power, a couple of highlights in some of the sets that I'm not too deep in. But for collections, and certainly for hoards, graded cards aren't that practical and aren't that enjoyable. Obviously it's just me giving my opinion. This is a gem mint card, isn't it? Wow. That's a rare find. This gentleman told me that it came from an Alpha starter deck, but one never knows. But yeah, I'd believe that. Nicely centered too. But if you've got a whole collection of graded cards, there's no good way to browse them and enjoy them. It's not the same as holding a real card. You get glare on the case. Half the time I'm trying to see into one of these, you're just seeing reflections. I don't know. It's the charm wore off. I'm into the collecting, and there's just something real about a raw card. It can go in a binder, so you can actually see a bunch of them at once. You can sleeve it and play with it. And I just think the raw is a little bit more beautiful. You know, this is just an amazing thing. And if you put a giant piece of plastic around it with a number on top, I'm not sure that's adding anything to what this really is. For me. You know, I mean, the point is the card, not the plastic. There's also something magical about really nice rares. And I suppose it's because once you slab a card, it's preserved, it's locked in. You know, barring some pretty unusual circumstances, that card will now exist in its condition indefinitely. This is nice too, this is very nice. Whereas a raw card like this, you know, a really nice raw card, there's a constant attrition rate. Because, especially as the prices go up, some of them are getting graded, you know, are being converted into graded cards. And some of them are losing condition, you know, being downgraded because of damage or accidents or handling or whatever. So as long as a card is rare, it's in a decreasing population as far as I can tell. And you know, obviously you can convert a graded card back to a raw card. You know, it's not like opening a sealed box. You can't reseal it. But the truth of the matter is, if you grade a high grade card, you know, all of these are pretty nice, to be honest. But you know, I would say this is easily a 9, possibly a 9.5. The premium that commands, it just makes it impractical. People don't break slabs on high grades. And so you get this, you know, it's increasingly rare to have good raw cards like this. And to me, that makes it just a little bit more special. And it feels a little more authentic, and it feels more nostalgic. This is a good condition 7. I'll be breaking this one out of the case. Corners at the low grade. Yeah, there's a lot of chipping on the corners. But just to compare, I mean, I don't know, which do you prefer? You see the reflection, you can't get the art as well, you got light glare. The color is muted. Yeah, I don't know, with a few exceptions. You know, there's a couple of cards, I should have pulled it. I've got my Demonic Tutor in Alpha with the gold 9.5 goes really nicely with the card. And there's a few like that, but, you know, only a few. So, in any case, I collect cards. Not plastic. And there's plenty of people who collect grades. You know, there's people that'll try to get a full, you know, 9 set, say, of Unlimited or whatever. I know of a guy that has or had at least a full 9.5 Arabian set. I worked with a gentleman from Italy who's got piles of 10s from all the early sets. And Rudy is on record saying that he wanted to get every single Alpha 10 off the market. And I have no doubt that he got pretty far in that goal over the years. And so I'm definitely in the minority. You know, the market disagrees with me on this, but I'm not convinced that there's a real consistent difference between some of the really close numbers and quads, you know? I mean, an Animate Dead that has, you know, a 9 on corners and an 8.5 on edges, or, you know, this is a basic, but a quad that was all 9, I mean, is that really consistently different enough that this number means all that much? So once you start collecting grades, to an extent you're collecting condition. and I can get behind that. But to a pretty large extent, you're also just collecting, you know, the whim of the grader. But there's no denying the really high grades are stupid rare. Stupid rare. And, you know, that's because even a pack fresh card isn't a guaranteed 9.5, let alone a 10. And so you get this astronomical price jump. The cards that deserve the high grades are rare, and then even out of the ones that deserve it, the ones that get it are even more rare. You know, like I said, the whim of the grader. What mood are they in? What's the current pop report? You better believe that the current pop report impacts, you know, what they're willing to give out. For sure it does. I looked at the PSA pop report for Alpha. And if you scroll through, you will actually see that about 10% of all the cards get a 10. So that tells me that they're doing a pretty consistent job. I've said it a couple times recently, but I continue to be happy with CGC's grading. I feel like they grade hard and they grade well. So PSA is doing a pretty consistent job. If you pull up the BGS pop report, the highest non-land card, the highest 10 population of a non-land card is Sarah Angel, and that pop is 4 at 10. Most of the Alpha cards have 0. Maybe a third has a 10. A handful have 2 or 3. So it shows you the total at the bottom. They have graded 39,497 Alpha cards at the time I'm recording this. And then out of that almost 40,000, they gave out 6,010 9.5s, 236 10s, and only 12 black labels. So a black label represents 0.03% of the cards that they grade. And a 10 or higher is a little over 0.5%. And a 9.5 or higher works out to like 16% of all the cards. So a 9.5 is a little easier than a PSA 10, but a BGS 10 or black label is stupid impossible. You know, it's almost like unique art. I mean, there's 12 Alpha black labels in the world, so no wonder it's so expensive. Let's check these two out. I've been waiting for these for a little while. This is a card that I love. Oh, don't tell me you taped the top. Oh, I taped the top. Please don't tape the top. If you sell cards, please don't tape the top. Oh yeah, these are nice. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. These are not as nice as they first appeared. I'm going to have to pull out the loop to take a close look at these, but I think we have some inking. Well, I'm going to have to deal with that. I do not take inked cards. So I'll give you a quick example of how the price spikes at the high end of the grades, and then we'll call it a day. I think covered enough ground. So these aren't graded, but the truth is the raw cards at the very high level have very much the same appreciation curve as graded cards, with the exception of, you know, the pristine grade and just the stupid rare stuff. But take a look at these two. Okay. So this one first. I bought this card first, about a year before that one, and it's in very good condition. Reasonably centered for this card. This one's particularly hard to get, you know, perfectly centered, but this is nicely centered. This is, I don't know, 8 or 8.5 centering. And then a year later, a year when prices were going up, I got this card. And you can see, you know, edge wear, some chips. It's good condition. Centering is not as good. A little bit more surface business going on. So certainly a nice card, but you know, you can see that it's not the same as this guy. The price difference to get from this, which is by all accounts a nice card, to this, which is pretty much a gem mint card, was double. This card cost me twice as much as this card, and I bought this one first, so that was a year apart, with prices moving up. So despite buying the more expensive one first, it still cost me double what this one cost when I got it later. For just the slightly cleaner edge, this fractionally better centering, fractionally better. And honestly, that's reasonable. That's what you're going to get with graded cards too. You know, not the real fine distinctions, but a 7 to a 9, that's what you're going to get. So, you know, people that are collecting 10s compared to what I'm doing, you know, it's like Picasso versus, you know, what I'm doing is eating crayons. So anyway, let me know what you think. Do you prefer graded cards? Do you prefer raw cards? And why? So unfortunately, these cards definitely are inked. I spent some time after the video taking a close look, and the ink job is all the way around both cards. So interestingly, you can't see it too easily from the front edges. Normally you can, but whatever they used, I guess it just wasn't a Sharpie. It was a little bit more of a precision job, but when you get in close, you can see the deed is done, and these cards are worthless. Thankfully, the seller is a stand-up dude. I bought a lot of stuff from him before, and he's taken them back. He said it was sort of a quick sale from somebody he didn't know too well, and he didn't do the due diligence he should have done. And it sounds like he's not able to reach that original seller anymore, so he's probably going to end up taking a hit on these. So, buyer beware. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, then it really helps me and the channel out if you build a boat and sail all the way to Antarctica and then hike across the ice and tell me if the Earth is flat. See you next time.